You have to know the speed of your team. You have to know what makes them tick. Again, you and I talked before I got on air. If it's a jet ski, bingo, I'm going to make sure that guy gets his jet ski. He's the first guy. If you tell a 22-year-old kid fresh out of tech school or 21-year-old kid fresh out of tech school, he's going to work 6 days a week, you're not going to hire him or you're not going to keep him because he doesn't have to do it.
Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? This is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of The Golden Wrench, where I get to talk to anybody and everybody I want to talk about when it comes to the fixed ops industry. Of course, it's a business. It has a huge part of my heart and soul, so I love that way I have an opportunity to actually create a podcast dedicated just to the fixed ops business. And because of that opportunity, we're going to take a moment and thank our sponsor. For years, I've been saying that you have to process your way to profitability, and no one knows that better than the folks at Repair 360. You all know how important it is to have a fast, streamlined used car reconditioning process. Remember, time kills profit. Getting a used car frontline ready in less time while providing transparent communication between departments is what Repair 360 is all about. With Repair 360's automated used car recon manager, you will drive recon times down while giving sales the visibility they need to stop complaining. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that part. Anyways, you have to check out their website at repair360.com and see how they can revolutionize your reconditioning process. All right. Hey, again, I have, thank you for taking the time to jam with us today. I have an amazing guest. I have the one, the only, the oh so famous Shon Kingrey with me. Shon, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, good, man. How are you? Thank you. I'm honored. I appreciate the opportunity more than you'll know.
Was that an okay intro? Did that work?
That was an okay intro. Yeah. Don't build it up too big, by the way. But yeah, don't build it up too big.
I was trying to summon my inner McMahon there, but it just wasn't quite coming out on a afternoon.
That's all right.
Well, Shon, dude, we have some really cool topics. I love these topics. I've heard you speak about these topics. I know that both of us have got some very passionate thoughts about these topics. So I'm excited to get into it. But hey, before we do that, I love kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story. Because I'm just fascinated myself, right? So let's start with this. So, Shon, how did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
You know, my story is unique. I know everybody's got their own story. So I was in the Marine Corps, and I was in the Marine Corps for about 6.5 years. And hypothetically, I might have been chasing a new individual out of an aircraft hangar with a fire extinguisher. And hypothetically, he might have been unclothed at the time. And the hangar door shut on my foot. So long story short, Jason, I spent 26 months in a cast.
Oh, no.
Best duty in the world, aircraft firefighter. I was with the Presidential Helicopter Squadron. So anywhere the president went, we went. I mean, it was the duty of all duties, to be honest. And then, so needless to say, the Marine Corps and I had to part ways, which wasn't a choice of mine, but it is what it is. I was in Boone, Iowa, of all places. I'm from Iowa originally. I was in Boone, Iowa, getting my oil changed, sitting in chairs, and a gentleman came and sat next to me, like literally right beside me, and just shot the crap with me for like 45 minutes. And I didn't know who this guy was, had no clue. By the end of the conversation, now mind you, I'm still in a cast at this point, cast up to my knee. Gotcha. And by the way, it was a bright pink cast because the Navy's the one who fixed my leg up, and they thought that was funny. But and he said, "Hey, what are you going to do with your life?" And I said, "Sir, in all due respect, I don't know. I'm a firefighter. That's what I was in the Marine Corps. And I don't know." He says, "Well, come work for me." And for those of us in our upper ages, as I am now that I've crossed the threshold of 50 years old, he goes, "Come work for me." And I said, "Do you sell Amway?" And he's like, "No, I don't sell Amway. I own this place." And it was the dealer principal. And literally, I had no clue. I had no idea. It did explain why everybody was walking by wondering why he was talking to me the whole time, which was all the employees. But started as a service writer in Boone, Iowa. Started with one store, became service manager, became a fixed ops director of the store. Ultimately had 7 stores with him, spent quite a few years there. Went to Minneapolis, spent 11 years of my career in Minneapolis. And here we are literally 30 years later.
Wow. All because of an accident that led to a pink cast.
Literally.
That's probably why I bet you that's why he was sitting next to you. Because I mean, any guy sitting around with a big pink cast up to his leg, up to his knee, I'd probably want to sit down and hear his story as well.
Well, I think about it, just if you think about it, here I am. So I'm 23 or 24 years old, whatever I was at the time.
Yeah.
Obviously young, fit, and in shape, not like I am now. Okay. Obviously had a high and tight haircut, had a little more hair back then. So I'm sure listen, I had the jarhead look through and through. And here I am in his waiting room in a pink cast going, okay, I got to find out what this guy's story is. So that's literally how I got started.
Dude, that's how it happened. I think I love it. I mean, look, Shon, I've done a little over 1,300 podcasts, and I've heard some pretty wild origin stories, right? And sitting in a service lounge with the pink cast, man, right, is right up there.
Thank you.
And hey, we call these the automotive bods. They're Autobods. So, like, that's as we get older, that's what we have. It's an age thing. It's
right. Yeah. I own that, by the way, and I'm all right with it. I own it. So anyway, yeah.
And the receding hairline's a normal thing. Like, I actually tell my kids, this one's them, and that one is the dealership. And that's how my hair started going out.
Everybody asks, why do you get your hair cut every week? Because it keeps the grays down, and that's a true story.
Right. We got to mow that stuff.
That's right.
All right, hey, let's get into these topics. I'm super excited and really, really appreciate everybody out there that is watching and listening right now. I've been looking forward all week to doing this chat with Shon. And our first topic is going to be recruiting. Mm-hmm. And I love this topic because there's just so many different angles from recruiting of, from the marketing to, the pay structures to the, to management and leadership of recruiting. But I love the way you're kind of approaching this and it's something that you've seen as far, we got a chance to talk about this before we start recording, a pattern of robbing from each other. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to let's get into this. What have you been seeing? What is the problems, and give me some ideas of how we think we can solve this.
Well, I think what the business has changed, and again, it's just like the sales market, the sales business is changing so dramatically. Our world's changing too. The technicians are smart, okay? They're not the old grease monkeys they were, and that's not disrespectful to anybody. They're not the same techs they were 30 years ago. They're smart. And what we're experiencing now, and for those of us in the fixed ops world, guys, when you're trying to steal from each other, you're recruiting from each other, ultimately you're giving them pay raises, and that's the game that they're playing. And at some point in time, to be very honest with you, one of my stores now had the reputation because you say, oh, people don't talk about their pay. There's no more of a false line ever stated in the car business. When you give a tech a raise, you might as well go in the shop and hit a racquetball because it'll hit less balls less quickly. All right. So they go back to their main shop or they go back to the store that they're from and said, hey, I went and saw Billy Bob, or I went and saw Shon, or I went and saw Jason, or whatever the case is. And he bumped me to $38 an hour or $41 an hour is what he offered it to me. So he's going to go to his service manager, his fixed ops director, and get an offer for 43 or 45 to stay. And you become that dealership where people are coming to get pay raises. So when I interview people now, and I may not be the most HR correct person in the world, I will literally sit with somebody and look them right in the eyes and say, hey, if you're here to get a pay raise, let me know. Because I'll give you a pay plan that will give you a pay raise. But if you play me for that pay raise, you'll never work for me. It's okay. And when you do it, you kind of put them on their heels. They're not ready for that question, but that's okay because that is the trend nowadays. That's what they're doing because they're smart enough to do it. I'm in Wisconsin on the border of Illinois, where Illinois pays customer pay rates for warranty. So you got to play that game. You and I talked before we went online about recruiting, and you ran shops yourself that ran 4-day work weeks. Yes. I have a dealer principal who's high on the hog right now. He wants to run 3-day work weeks and wants to advertise it. And I don't want to step because I know you have answers to that. Everybody says, and you said it right before we went on air. Everybody says you can't run 412s, but you can. It is possible, especially when you're in markets. Because I think everybody, for those that know me, I was in Florida for 6.5 years. It does get a little harder in hot climates because there's a certain point, if you don't have air conditioned shops, that production wears off. It is what it is. You can only squeeze so much out of a guy working out underneath the hood that's 1,200 degrees and it's 110 outside. But when you're in Midwest climates where, it like right now, here we are in the middle of May and it's 67 degrees outside. And you can offer a guy to recruit, instead of offering them that the new $50 seems to be the magic number. Instead of going to that $50, how about you offer him a schedule that nobody else can? And by the way, with daycare nowadays, That's no joke.
No, you're 100% right. In fact, I mean, when we started doing this was 2012, when we put this out there, and I was just thinking, you know what? Someone actually asked me for the schedule. It was actually interesting, and actually the way it happened, Sean, it was actually in an interview with the technician, and the technician really just kind of looked at me and said, "Look, I really only want to work 4 days a week," and I was just like, "Phew, who are you?" To ask for that. And then after the interview, I was starting to like argue with myself internally inside my head, right? I'm like, this was a really good person. I mean, this should be a great, but they all wanted 4 days. Then the other side was, yeah, but he really, really well trained. I mean, great personality, but he only want to work 4 days. And finally came to it. I said, you know what? Why can't we do that? What would really stop us from doing that? And that's when, me and actually it was my controller at the time, we sat there and just ripped apart this schedule and said, what would it look like if we actually did this? How would we maintain it? How many people need it? Then we brought it back to the service manager. And I said, look, if we brought in these additional hours and stayed open a little bit later so we can run this, can you fill that? Oh, he loved it. He was like, absolutely, I can fill that. I was like, even better. And it just became a thing. And we had technicians at the time just literally coming to us, seeing if we had additional opportunities, because people at that point in time were looking for that lifestyle balance and being able to and also I think the mindset, you come in, it's 4 days, you just bust your butt off, and then just relax. And 3 days is kind of that magic number to be able to decompress and almost disconnect, where it's like, and it worked out. In fact, it actually worked out so well, Sean, we actually introduced it into the sales department as well. Now that was even a little bit trickier, but we did. And it became a thing. But anyways, I digress. But, I'm with you. Robbing from each other. Look, that's never going to get us anywhere. Right. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never poached anybody, but I have definitely been out there and very open to that. If you're not happy, you need to have a conversation with me. Right. Mm-hmm. And, if it's our marketing strategy or if it's our recruitment strategy to poach from others, I don't know. And also, going back to your point, like, is that the type of person that you want in your business in the first place? Right. Correct. So let's go kind of let's talk a little bit about that, because I think things have changed a lot recently. What are you looking for right now in a quality hire? I'm just curious for you, Sean.
Well, and I think every role is different, but ultimately it's the same. Either they're on the team or they're not on the team. I was privileged enough to speak at NADA this year, and I was told I couldn't say it, but if I'm going to go back to the service manager, because I think the speed of it, again, I should coin the phrase, speed of the leader, speed of the team. I say it every day, and I probably say it 30 times a day. When you go to a store and there's a problem, 9 times out of 10, well, first of all, it's a people business. It's always a people problem. But the speed of the leader is always the speed of the team. And if the team has a problem, you need to go to your leader and find out what the problem is. If you have a leader, and this is my soapbox on NADA this year, if you have a leader that sits in their office 8 hours a day and thinks they can manage from the office, you have the wrong leader in the team. I will say it all day long. I'm sitting in one of my Sauk City, Wisconsin stores right now in the sales manager's office. I'm not sitting in a corporate office where I could be. I'm sitting where the action is in the stores that need attention. And it doesn't go any different. If your leader, and your leader includes your general manager, by the way, if your general manager is a dealer principal, it includes your dealer principal. If they don't know your technician's wife's name, his girlfriend's name, his wife and his girlfriend's name, if that's the case, and his kid's name. No, but it's true. If you don't know what makes that tech tick, then that's your problem. So you ask what I want in it. I want the leader that knows what he has in he or she, because half of my service managers, by the way, are females. That's a whole nother topic we can spend all day on that works. You have to know the speed of your team. You have to know what makes them tick. Again, you and I talked before I got on air. If it's a jet ski, bingo, I'm going to make sure that guy gets his jet ski. He's the first guy. I can tell you a story in Florida from a guy's wife, by the way, who we were all out for dinner together, and he wants a speedboat. I said, well, as soon as he gets to level 3, I'll make sure he gets there. And by the way, in 6 months, heck if it wasn't in his driveway, because it became my mission in life to make sure he got it. And by the way, that spread like wildfire. What you ask what I'm looking for, if you have a leader who sets the threshold for a technician at 6 hours, then you have the wrong leader. Okay, the 6 hours can't be the goal. If you have an A technician, if you have a B technician that you spent time and money on to get them certified, you need to make sure that they're at least at 100%. That's the threshold. There is no less. Okay. I know. And again, I'm an NADA guy graduate. I'm an NCM guy in this group. The new benchmark is fixed absorption. And if you know what fixed absorption is, there's again another topic we can spend all day on. I have a store. Our monster store is at 111% fixed absorption, guys.
Beautiful.
46 technicians, real deal. Okay, we're paying 111% of the deal of the bills. Walking in. It's possible. I promise you. Why? Because we involve the technicians. We involve the advisors in everything we do. We know what makes everybody tick. And everybody's different, by the way. And if you think they're not, or if you think you're above walking through a shop and saying hello to technicians, then you're the wrong guy, wrong gal. It's just a fact.
You're absolutely right. And we talked a little bit about this too. It's that feeling of being known is incredibly powerful and impactful on our staff, right? Like it really does change the staff when they feel like they're known. And going back to kind of what you meant about the jet ski or the speedboat, or I want to get out of my parents' basement apartment, and I want to buy a new house, or I want to send my kids through college. Look, it's one thing for us to present a pay plan, all right, and show them what they can do, all right, to make that much money. But it's very different when we understand why they're doing it the way they're doing it, right? Like when we understand their why, like why do they get up in the morning, all right, and just come in and just with this incredibly cheery disposition, right? Mm-hmm. Why do they, when they're still tired and it's 10 minutes after their shift is done, they're still checking out, Mr. Smith, because Mr. Smith is their regular and no one else is going to check out Mr. Smith, right. That why, where are those whys, right? And yeah, when we can connect the dots for our staff, not just about, what they're making, but why they're doing it, and what's the goal behind it, then yes. And then going to your point, making them known is big. And now, by the way, I can do a whole podcast on fixed absorption. And I love, by the way, you brought that up because I find rabbit holes in our podcast. By the way, rabbit hole, here we go. Yes. And you somebody with floor plan rates being what they are, bro.
Yes.
It is tough. I mean, I can feel the stress of service leaders out there going, look, I mean, we have dealerships out there that some of them, they got 200-300 days worth of inventory on their lot with interest rates. Anyways, actually, I won't go down this rabbit hole because I'll get on my soapbox, but
it's something you have to talk about. And again, it's something that you have to focus on and know, because it's part of your business. So my general manager, my dealer principal's in a bad mood. Well, if you saw what he's paying for that iron on the lot right now, that it's $17,000 off a Ram truck, you can't give them away. You'd be stressed too.
You would be. You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. Now I want to go a little bit down the rabbit hole of leadership real quick, because here's something that I found interesting. I mean, look, when I got put into, let's call it a leadership role, which was under the mask of a manager title, no one taught me how to be a leader. In fact, I only managed. I didn't even know I had to be a leader. I just managed the way I watch other people manage, which typically in the automotive industry, it's usually suck it up, buttercup, check your shit at the door, and let's get shit done. And that was just the way I thought people needed to be managed. This was just, that was the norm, right?
Right.
But I want to get into this. I want to get your thoughts on this because, that's how I started. I started off as a salesperson. I moved over to this, and then I decided to go over and be a service advisor. And then they ultimately made me a manager. Now, but as a manager, I thought this was really interesting because I thought I just went in to go manage the business. But in reality, I actually needed to be a leader in that position to actually make effective change. But we don't train. Anyways, I know you got thoughts on this, so I want you to take it from there.
Well, I think it goes back to what you said about the work schedule. I can link it to that, quite frankly. You can say COVID changed the business. COVID changed everything, okay? The new generation, whatever generation we're on, you're talking to a guy with 5 kids and my 9th grandkid's on the way at 52 years old, okay? My kids are all grown adults, thank goodness, by the way. But they're all grown adults and on their own and doing well. But the new generation doesn't and won't work 6 days a week. So back to your point, and on the leadership side of it, you woke up on Monday morning, know you had to work that Saturday. So you got a 6-day work week. So your butt's dragging all week. So you work Saturday, you get off at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, you work a half day. So you're only half pregnant that day anyway. And then you come back on Monday, you're tired because you had no weekend. So you ruin somebody's 2 weeks of their life. They will not do it anymore. I know we all think it, and we all go to all these speakers, I'm sorry, and all these trainers that say, when you're not open on Saturdays, you're losing work. You are losing time. I'm not saying you're not. That's where the 4-day working week works into it, where Saturday's a full day. If you're not going to be open, don't be open. Don't pretend like you're half pregnant. But that comes back to the speed of the leader, speed of the team, and the leadership. As you just said, you have to learn to adjust to the generation that we're in. Again, I don't care if it's generation, whatever the heck generation we're on now. If you tell a 22-year-old kid fresh out of tech school or 21-year-old kid fresh out of tech school, he's going to work 6 days a week, you're not going to hire him or you're not going to keep him because he doesn't have to do it. Because first of all, the shop's going to poison him because they're going to tell him he shouldn't. And by the way, and then he has no life. It's not that important. How many kids nowadays don't care if they own a car? It was the first thing I did when I was 16. I'm not 16 anymore. And it's just changed so much. And the leadership mindset needs to change. And I'm sure, being 52 years old, that I'm stuck in that mindset a little bit. But I like to say I'm okay changing it. Back to my point. I'm sitting in a store right now. I don't walk through the showroom. The first thing I do is walk through the shop. I say hello to everybody. Again, the leadership.
Well, it's making that connection. Actually, I got to be honest with you. At that service manager position, I'd be all for actually removing the word manager out of it almost entirely, right? Because that's what I thought I was getting into when I received that role in 2002. That's what I thought I was getting into. I just had to manage this paperwork. Here was stuff that was coming in. All right, I had to manage people's work schedules and stuff like that. No one told me I had to lead people. No one told, and the other thing too is but then I figured out pretty quickly that if my team wasn't growing, well, my pay structure wasn't growing. So almost by osmosis, I figured real fast that was well, they're not growing, and I guess I better figure out how to help them grow. Now, in the beginning, I was horrible at this. In fact, actually, I had a service advisor one year, all right, for Christmas, knit me a pillow that said, "Shut the up and get back to work."
Love it.
And I guess because I said that so much that she thought it'd be funny that she knitted on a pillow for me for a Christmas gift. And I went, you know what? Maybe there's a different way here.
But could you imagine doing that today? If you tell a kid today to shut the F up, guys, they're going to quit. And by the way, so is their buddies. And chances are their mom, because they probably still live with their mom. Their mom's going to come down tomorrow and beat the living hell out of you.
No, look, you're right. It is right. But I found out pretty quickly that, I had to learn, it was not, this was I had to be very serious with myself and say, okay, I'm going to be empathetic here. I need to learn, what makes these people tick, because I found that as I learned what made them tick or what motivated them, if I could lean them towards their motivation, their productivity was actually considerably higher. But Shon, no one taught me that. I just had to figure this crap out on my own. And, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts of just how can we change this? How do it how do we make sure that we're bringing leaders into the business, not just managers? I guess that's what I'm asking.
I think that's a culture change. That's a loaded question. There's 12 podcasts in one. You got to stop. And I think this comes back to dealer principles, and it really does. And now that you say that, because that wasn't a planned question, but you have to change the mindset that general managers can only be variable guys with zero fixed knowledge. Or if you're not going to do that, as the dealer principal I worked for in Florida, our store directors had no responsibility in fixed operations. And the reason he did it was, A, you're not paying general manager egos. But the second reason is, guys, 99% of all general managers have no idea even how to spell or what an RO stands for, okay? But yet you're telling them, to your point, to take the best advisor for whatever reason, make him a manager, and expect that in osmosis he's going to know how to do it. And in return, doesn't share the financial statement, doesn't teach them how to read what they do get, and doesn't understand what's contributing to making their expenses out of control. Because quite frankly, they don't know. So to answer your question, I think that starts with a culture change from the top. If your general manager doesn't know fixed operations, then they need to stay out of fixed operations. It's a pretty bold statement. I know I won't make friends saying that, but it's the truth. Hire a fixed ops director that can run your deal. Because I promise you, and again, this is not me. I don't have an ego, and I really promise you I don't. April over April. I was here last April. This April over last April, and I was here for both of those. We're up 28.4%. Guys, that's against my own numbers. And it's not an ego thing. It's by getting the right processes in place in the right stores and making sure that everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid and on the boat and the ship with you. So to answer your question, how do you build leaders? Speed of the leader, speed of the team. It always goes back to that.
No, you're right. Right. How am I going to build a leader at the very top? The leader themselves don't fundamentally understand, what it be a leader in that specific space, right? Again, trying to, look, I'm with you. And I think that's an amazing trend that you've kind of identified there. And I think for any, general manager or owner out there that's watching or listening right now, I mean, look, it's not that you can't learn and understand the fixed ops business. You need to go spend some time in it. I mean, it was funny enough. That's actually, Shon, why I spent time in the fixed ops business. I had a great mentor when I was very young in the business. And I told him one day that I wanted to be a dealer principal. And he laughed, and then he's like, oh crap, you're serious. You actually do want to do that. I said, yeah, but I need someone to kind of map out what I need to do. And the best advice he gave me was I needed to go work every position inside of a dealership for at least 6 to 9 months. Mm-hmm. And I did, and I ultimately did. I purposely did, and just so that I could touch and feel literally everything before I went to that ownership role. And I think it made me a better leader and a better owner because of that. But you're right, a lot of people don't do that. And I think that's an amazing trend that you're identifying that. Now I am going to switch gears a little bit here because I know I got a little off topic, which I do because I find rabbit holes and then I go down them.
It's all right. So do I, obviously.
Hey, we're car guys. This is what we do.
It's our passion. That's okay.
It's right. It's our passion. You identified something that you've been seeing, and I really wanted to kind of get into this because I think it's something that's going to end up being a much bigger deal over a period of time if we don't have a discussion about it and strategize around it. But it's the warranty uplift, and how that comes at a price, right? And I almost beg to say, like, is this another OEM game? I don't know, right? Like, it's just right. It feels like it feels. Anyways, I know you got some thoughts on this. Warranty's never been easier, but does it come at a cost? I'll let you kind of take it from there.
Okay, so it's a double-edged sword. I'm going to play both sides of it here. Okay, I'm a big proponent. If the law allows you, I'm in a state that borders Illinois, as I said at the beginning, that allows me to maximize my warranty labor rate uplifts, that I have stores exceeding $300 for warranty work, which, by the way, allows me to pay the technician more for working on warranty. You talk about recruiting, that allows me to pay more on warranty work because I'm collecting that much more money. But with that is another positive. In order to get that warranty uplift, you have to fix your customer pay and what you're charging. Listen, you don't need to be, again, all the consultants that are out there saying, oh, you need to raise your labor rate. You're going to price yourself out of the market. You don't need to be the cheapest. You don't need to be the most expensive. You need to be competitive, but it's okay. Profit is not a 4-letter word. It's okay to charge for quality work. You don't have to be the highest, but it's okay. But in return, you raise your effective labor rate on the customer side, you'll get a higher warranty labor rate, and the whole growth starts to come in. It all really starts to work. But with that, to your point on the double-edged sword, guys, if you don't think a manufacturer gives you $300 an hour and now you're not on the radar, darn right you're on the radar, okay? But you have to own that. Audit is not a 4-letter word. Nobody wants to be audited, but I want to be perfectly clear. Audits don't scare me. Do the right thing. Okay, they come in and they found out you missed a signature. Shame on you. You won't do it twice. The one thing I will promise you, they won't find fraud. There is no fraud. I don't do fraud. I don't cross the line. I'll walk up against the line, but I won't cross that line. And in return, that's what gives you 28% growth, okay? That's the low-hanging fruit. You have to take advantage of it because, to your point, the manufacturers are, and again, through and through, you got to have the manufacturers on your side. Some of the best friends I have in this world are previous reps or current reps. However, the manufacturer is not your friend. They're not there to pay the claim. They're there to find reasons not to pay the claim, okay? So if you don't live on that side, knowing you need to maximize every dollar you can get, I'm going to go back to my Florida stores where we had the Kia engine recalls. Kia and Honda want to replace every engine you have and then want to tell your technicians they have to do it in 5.2 hours. Yes. There isn't a car that's been sitting underneath a tree for 10 years that engine's coming out in 5.2 hours, okay? So They're not there to help you. You know it's going to take 10 hours. You know you're going to burn the tech out. You're going to bust his back, by the way, because he's doing heavy line work. You have to find a way to compensate that technician, to retain the technician, and that's by collecting. We didn't create this disaster. It's by cutting times that started all this. But
Yes.
And we all know there's 100 different companies out there, because I think that's the new hot button, warranty uplift, warranty uplift. Some of them I do appreciate. Some of them I don't. Some of them show you how to run your business better to get an increase, which helps your effective labor rate.
Like, I honestly, I think that's the key right there, Shon, is how we run the business, you know, and look, either you're running it as a sprint or you're running it as a marathon.
Yes.
And I think that analogy makes sense for some out there that are watching and listening right now, right? Like, either you're darting for that 30-day goal because somebody above you told you needed to hit something, right? Or you're playing this for the long game for consistent, reliable, scalable growth, not just because you got lucky one month and you just knocked it out of the park. Anyways,
that is sustainable. What you said is perfect, by the way, for growth that is sustainable and accountability for it. The growth we did last year at 16% or 18.6%, sorry, group wide, didn't come on a one-off, obviously, because we're doing it again. It's sustainable. Can we keep it up forever? I got asked that question literally today, right before we went on the podcast. Is your growth sustainable? Sure the hell better be, because that's how I get paid, by the way. I don't get paid any other way. I get paid on growth. Would have it no other way. Because you know what? That's what motivates my head. And you talked about what kind of leadership you need. You need that kind of leadership. That's what motivates in their head. Not what you owe me. It's what I can give you, and then you can pay me back in return.
No, that's well said. In fact, actually, for I'm with you. Actually, I find that same mentor that I had told me that the best dealership I'll ever own will be the most boring one to run. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Bill? That makes absolutely no sense. He goes, no, it will be so consistent. So just no fires, nothing, no 5 alarms going off or anything like that. Just consistent, executable, scalable growth. And I asked him one day, I said, well, how do you get that? How do you get that? And he actually introduced me to something that I thought was great. And it still is actually something I do today with a lot of my clients, is we call them the little things. Because if you're looking for consistent, scalable growth, it never comes from one big thing, right, Shon? Like, it's never just like, because if it's one big thing, we'd all just do it and
right,
money, right? It is always a series of little things executed perfectly over a period of time that gets that. And this is where I know I'm going a little off topic here, and I know we got a couple more minutes before we're done here, but what were some of the little things that you put in place that gave you that type of scalable growth?
It's funny, the ABCs of processes.
Sure.
I'm a firm believer in BDCs, by the way. If you're letting the advisor schedule their own appointments, you're making a mistake. And I'm a firm believer on it. I got a lot of grumbles in NADA about that. Listen, your advisors are human. They're going to schedule what's best for them. You'll have no appointments on Friday afternoons. If they had a bad day at home, they're going to have a bad day at work, and the customers are going to feel that. So I think BDCs, hands down, whether you do it in-house or you outsource it or whatever you do, you have to control your schedule. And the second thing I would say that I wasn't as prepared for as I should have been when I got here is you got to identify the roadblocks. Take the blinders off. You're the new guy. You're the new girl. You're the new person. Take the blinders off. Whatever roadblocks there are. And if it's a person, fix the person. If it's a process, fix the process. You have to remove the roadblocks from getting to that point, okay? If you have, again, I'll go back to what I said originally. I know we're almost out of time. If you have a service manager who's been accustomed and been allowed to sit in their office at 8 hours a day and you can't break them, then you need to make a change. But if you show them, oh, by the way, you change the locks on their doors or you put a padlock on it so they can't go in there 8 hours. Yes, there are things that need to happen in that office, but there's nothing in that office that's generating gross, I promise you. The gross is happening on the service drive and in the shop every day. You count the gross in there. You make the gross out here. And to me, that would be my two things. I implement BDC and I remove roadblocks. Because then once you get them drinking that Kool-Aid, I'm a firm believer in it. You get them drinking the Kool-Aid and not spitting back at you, everybody starts to make money. And quite frankly, to what you were saying right before you switched back over to me, your best dealership's your most boring. Cruise control is not a 4-letter word either. Okay.
No.
I can tell you out of the 26 stores I had in Florida, Alabama, and Georgia, we called it the war room at month end. It was fun. We had a good time with it because we were on cruise control. We were generating gross beyond anything anybody could imagine. Why? Because everybody followed the process and they were on the team. They believed in what the mission was, quite frankly.
No, and you're absolutely right. It's just a collective of people who remove those roadblocks, or the little things,
Yes.
whatever it was.
Roadblocks aren't big things. No, they're not.
They're usually little. It could be something as simple as just, how we're answering the phone, or what time so and so is taking lunch, and it's a little things that over a period of time just makes a big deal. I'll tell you a real quick little one, and then I'll let you go. Yeah. One of the things, and my service advisors hated me for this. We all got the coffee machine, right? The big fancy one with a little touch screen, makes all the noises, sings a song. I put that, instead of in my service lounge, I put it behind my service advisors. And it became a part of the process when they were checking in. So real quick, you take 1 sugar, 1 cream, right? Yes.
Yeah, right. Good one.
Hit the button and then turn back around and finish checking them in. Now, the cool thing is that machine's got a 35-second counter on it.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is to get someone checked in before the coffee thing sung at you.
I love it.
Did you like that? I thought you'd get a kick out of that one.
I do like that idea. I like that idea a lot, actually.
Look, but it's little things, right, dude? That's what I love about this business. It's these little things that, and the funny thing is that actually went into creating a pretty cool customer experience as well.
Yes.
But also gamified it a little bit and challenged people a little bit, because it was like, let's see if I can get this person checked in before that coffee goes off. Now, it was okay if they did, because maybe they just couldn't, right? Because
right.
Have a deeper conversation, which is fine. Whatever. That's
but
fine.
I'm sure it sped the process up. I'm sure it did.
It did significantly.
It did.
It did. Anyways, I know. Look, hey, for everyone out there watching and listening, you can tell me and Shon had an absolute blast today, and I'm 100% confident we're going to get Shon back on here, because we didn't even get into another topic we want to get into. We'll definitely get into it next time. We'll talk about retention the next time me and Shon talk, because I know we both have very
passion. Remember the word's passion. We have passion.
That's the word.
Passion. Yes.
Thank you, Shon. Thank you.
Yes.
But hey, Shon, before I let you go, though, for everybody out there watching and listening who would love to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Listen, I'm not, I'm in my 50s now, so I'm not Mr. Social Media, but I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I know the spelling is funny. Every time I go somewhere, is that really how you spell your name? Yeah. My parents were drunk. They didn't like me, whatever the case was. Listen, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. 850-490-3921. By the way, I said that out loud. That's my cell phone number. I'm a 24/7 guy. For those that don't know me, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'm the guy who sends emails at 3:00 in the morning. I'm always reachable. This is my passion, Jason. No line, no bull crap. Somebody will call and say, hey, listen. And again, I have controllers that I've known, and I'm going on my soapbox here, that I've known 20 years ago that call me, hey, Shon, we need direction here. We need help here. That's what I love to do. Okay. This is what I spent 3 years as a GM. The variable side is not what I want to do. I'm a fixed guy. It's my love. It's my passion, Jason, for lack of better words.
Well, Shon, I can tell it's your passion, and man, I really appreciate you taking the time to jam with me today. And for everybody out there watching and listening, we appreciate you taking the time to consume this. You have yourself an amazing day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to check out the full podcast library at strategywithjason.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.